So we are still talking about heists and Dungeons and Dragons, but today we're going to talk about the 5 things you absolutely should not do when it comes to playing a heist in Dungeons and Dragons. One of the most important things you should absolutely never do in Dungeons and Dragons when dealing with a heist is hide information behind a skill check. So if there's important information that your players have to know in order to get the heist to go through, you never want to hide that behind a skill check. Now, we will use lots of skill checks and heists, but those need to be used on a level. So meaning is this, is if you have a heist and you want to make sure that your players have information, but additional information would be nice, that's where you use a skill check. When you're doing interrogation, investigation, insight checks, persuasion checks, diplomacy checks, allow there to be a sliding scale of success. The other thing you want to make sure that you never do when it comes to heists is make sure there's only one way to win, meaning one way in, one way out, one password, one way, unless you're going to give that information to your players. If there's only one select way to win the heist and the players don't uncover something or don't think of something, you, the dungeon master, are going to have to think of a way for them to do that. Now, a lot of times as a dungeon master, you will come up with a scenario where there is only one way, but your players will come up with a second way. Make sure that that second way that the players come up with, you entertain. Even if you never thought of it, if the idea is good, allow that second way to be another way. Don't dismiss a second way just because it's not the way that you planned the heist to actually win. That's a big one. A big no-no is if you only allow the way that you thought of as the dungeon master. Allow your players' creativity to shine. A huge mistake that we make way too often when it actually comes to heists in Dungeons & Dragons is allow the rogue and the druid to separate themselves and actually go about on their own. Now, it's okay to do this once to say, hey, rogue, druid, I'm going to go out there, we're going to escape, we're going to scout out the territory ahead. But if the rogue and the druid by themselves are what make the whole heist go off without a hitch, that's boring for the rest of the party. And we see it a lot. There's so many times in Dungeons & Dragons where in a heist, it is the rogue and it is the druid that make everything work. Don't let that be your heist. Allow the entire party to have something to do when it comes to the heist. This is a big one, and it's an easy pit trap to fall into. The other thing that you never want to do when it comes to heists, this is number 4, is make it a fail-only quest. Meaning, no matter what the players do, there's a fail equation that happens, and the players are stuck in that fail equation. You don't want there to be an only fail because the players will surprise you. Now, failing may be the ideal option here, and it may be something that you're wanting to have happen. But if that's the case, make sure the players know the stakes going in, and even give them a chance to back out. Maybe the players backing out opens up an entirely another level of the storyline that you didn't see coming. But whatever you do, don't make it a fail option only, meaning that you go all the way through and they get to the final room and no matter what, they're always caught. Get rid of that always caught scenario. You can plan for them to be caught. You can give them lots of fail safes, but understand something. A lot of times in a fail-only scenario, the players are going to fight their way out, and a lot of times they'll even end up dead if you make it a fail-only scenario. So be careful of that one. It's an easy trap to fall in also. The other thing you never really want to do when it comes to heists, and the final thing, is make the bad guy waiting for you when you get out. Now, this is a trope we see in a lot of movies, but it kind of goes into the same genre as the fail-only scenario. If your players get in there, they get that done, they get the thing stolen, and they get out, and the bad guy's waiting for them, that's brutal. Now, if the guy who sent them on the quest is waiting for them, and the players didn't discover it, that's a different scenario. But if the bad guy has a chance to be waiting outside for the players, make sure that you telegraph that in some way, or give the players at least an opportunity to learn that information. Allow them to do an Ocean's 11 style, hey, you caught us, but we don't have the item. Make sure that that option is there for the players and something they can learn from. These are 5 things that you should absolutely not be doing, but they're easy traps to fall in. So I wish you the best of luck when it comes to your heists next time around.